This is Horribly Off Topic, episode number 259. I'm Chris.
I'm Steve.
Did I miss? That was exactly what I'm supposed to do, right? I didn't mess
Right,
it up.
yeah, that's fine. I just, I wanted to take a little bit more of a pause there.
Oh, okay.
Just to make people think that maybe their podcast app was malfunctioning, or that they needed to tune their dial on the radio station because we had dead air.
Dead air.
See, that's something that people in radio were concerned with, like at least managers of radio stations.
WNBC.
Well, you don't want dead air because people will be like, well, there's nothing going on this station. I'll change it.
Right. That's not so much a thing with podcasts, you think? Or you think there's still you think the radio roots of podcasts, do they show through in the not wanting to have dead air?
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think folks that maybe are our age and older that do podcasts are sort of hyper aware of those, at least that studied the media,
right?
Or that did any college radio or something like that. So folks of that variety, I think, are very aware
of which you would be one. You
and
studied the media.
I studied the media. You did college radio as well.
I did college radio. I wouldn't say that I studied. I wouldn't say that I was.
Yeah, but you were aware to not fucking just be like.
Yeah, that I tended not to. I mean, my roommate, who was my may he rest in peace, was my co-host for most of my college radio run, and he was much more aware of those sorts of things, being a somewhat older student who had probably done some college radio here and there before transferring to Yield, Bradford. So he kind of kept me in line and tried to keep me. He was basically the you of that, although not funny at all. So I mean,
he was like me, only not funny.
He was like you, only not funny.
So what was left?
The part that keeps me in line. Right?
Oh, okay.
The part that says, well, I don't know if we want to get into this.
I wouldn't mind talking about like early college radio because I remember WDJM 91.3 FM in Framingham.
Yes.
The nipples of college radio.
Yes. It's been a while since we've talked about the nipples of college radio.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I started, because there was like a board meeting, I think it might have been on Wednesdays in the afternoon sometime, and so basically you go to the board meeting and there's like, I'm so and so, I want to be a part of the club, because it was a club,
right? Yeah,
on campus, and so we had a president because or station manager or whatever that, and then like subsequent other people involved in the organization. Right. I did hold an office. My last semester, I was the DJ representative, which was basically a nothing job.
Where did you represent the DJs? In meetings with the other managers, or
so? If there was, this actually did happen in disciplinary hearings.
That kind of representative.
I was basically the.
Did they impeach the station manager?
No. I was the representative of the accused, or the person that was in trouble. Basically, gotcha. I was their
advocate,
their court appointed attorney.
Okay, gotcha.
Having no understanding of the law.
Right.
And I did have to do that once, and it was actually my buddy. And
did you win the case? If you don't mind me asking.
Technically, yes.
Okay.
Because there was some comfort, there was he did his own defense.
Right.
And there was some talks afterwards, and
So you were like his second. Like in the good old dueling days, you'd have a second. The second is really only there to maybe stop the fight from happening. It should kind of be the backup, but it's really the guys with the guns or the microphones who do all the.
A lot of the executive board, not the station manager, but a lot of the executive board did not like him.
Okay.
And they wanted to kick him off the air, and I was, obviously being friends with him, I was more than a little biased, and he was my baby
Mhm.
in this situation. So
Right.
I talked them down from kicking him off the air to a one show suspension, and then he had to write a letter or something like that.
Okay. So this has me curious. So they give him a one show suspension, so he just doesn't show up for that week, and somebody else gets his spot.
Yeah, either that or it's just whatever. I think I forget what we had on. It was some. I think it was Reading for the Blind.
Okay.
Was what was on when there wasn't a radio show on.
Okay.
So so there was something. There was something was broadcast out
Gotcha.
of our. But yeah, it was sort of like a service. And then if you were really into the book and you were blind and you were listening to the station all ready to hear the next chapter, and then fucking one of us fucking knobs came on. I'm like, fuck.
See, that is pretty mean. What I was thinking is, depending on the severity of the punishment, if you didn't have a backup plan like that.
He had a late night show, so it's doubtful that we
Okay.
got somebody to fill a spot for just 1 week.
Right. But what I say, like, if that was the situation, would it be that they reached out to somebody they knew that he hated, as part of the punishment? That's like, not only do you not get to be on the air for a week, but so and so, who's like your arch nemesis, is going to take your spot. And maybe if they do better, maybe you don't get your spot anymore. If it was a sort of a more prime real estate, a time when people are actually,
He had my
listening.
old time slot, which was Thursdays 10 to midnight, and
Yeah.
I had switched to Wednesdays 10 to midnight. And
Right.
That was and he did have, I think, like when he first started, he had like there's a documentary on it. It's called American Sexmatic. Look it up.
All right.
It is very there's it's one of those based on a true story kind of, and
Okay.
I play a prominent role as myself.
Mm-hmm.
But
This
yeah.
is available on the interwebs?
I don't know. It
right.
might be,
Okay.
but the him getting in trouble trial was.
Okay.
I think a lot of what was happening was they were filming the movie,
Yeah.
and they were in the studio, and they may or may not have been broadcasting. I have no idea. They were filming a lot, and then like they had this little sign
Yeah.
in the window that said sex.
Okay. So like this documentary was like the deep impact to the People versus Larry Flint's Armageddon, right?
Sure.
But I tried really
to
hard
go-
to make that make sense.
To go back a little further,
Uh-huh.
back when I started at the station, so you had to like sit in on a radio show,
Okay.
and
For training.
yeah, so
Yeah.
basically it was I think you had to do a certain amount of weeks.
Mhm.
You can do it, like all in 1 week. You could go on every show that would
Okay.
have you, and you could do it. And
So it's
then-
like a pilot or a driver, like earning their permit. It's that same sort of thing. You have to hit a certain number of hours, and then you're good.
right, and then and once you do that, they do a radio test. Basically,
Okay.
they give you a portion. Whoever you're testing out with, it gives you a portion of your show. I think it was either a half an hour or something like that.
Right.
Of the show to do, like that
Got
you can work the equipment, you can not be a complete buffoon on the air, that you can actually
Yep.
and not have an extreme amount of dead air.
Right.
And I remember, so like the guy I trained with, I think his name was Ron,
Mm-hmm.
and I did most of mine with him, and then I started. So I did, since I only did his show, it took me an entire semester basically to finish up, and then like by
Right.
the spring semester of that year, I was had my own show,
Mm-hmm.
the Simulated Itch Relief.
Right. It had "the" in it. At that.
Well, actually, no. The poster says Simulated Itch Relief,
Okay, right.
but it was like.
Well, I didn't know if it was like a weird David Lynch thing. When David Lynch had Nine Inch Nails on the newer version of Twin Peaks in the last couple of years, to like highlight the fact that it was an alternate universe kind of thing. They were not just Nine Inch Nails; they were the Nine Inch Nails. So I didn't know if way back in the day you were the Simulated Itch Relief.
No, it was Simulated Itch
Okay, got it.
So yeah, I did the show, and then there was this one guy. His name was Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember his last name, so even if I did, I couldn't say. But he was terrible.
Bill Bleepston.
I have no idea. I have no idea what his freaking name is, but he was terrible. And like he
Okay.
had trained with almost every DJ we had at the station.
Do they all have similar things to say about him?
And I I think I had only had one trainee at that point that had come through.
Yeah.
But I was sort of a hard ass,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the way but the person that trained with me did well,
Right.
and so it was fine. But like I think I had a bit of a reputation that I wasn't gonna just be like, okay, go and do a radio show now,
Right.
but like, so he basically, I think it was the guy that was it was a different station manager at the time than the one that it was over the proceedings and whatnot.
Right.
And he was like, Steve, can you take care of this guy for us? He was just like he was a fucking mob boss. Can you take care of this guy for me? And I'm like, sure. So I had him on the show. I had him sit in cause I think this was still maybe in the era that Tim was still coming to the show.
Okay.
Tim was my co-host for a while, and then he, at a certain point, decided that he didn't want to come and do the show anymore. He just wanted to stay at Bennigan's and drink. So he'd come out and hang out with us before the show, but then when it was time to go back to campus and
To Bennigan's.
yeah, he would be at Bennigan's and just stay there, and then so I'd go, and then sometimes I'd zip back and hang out for last call with him after the show.
Got it.
But then after that, Kira was my co-host.
Okay.
She was actually a big fan of the show, and I'm like, I have absolutely no idea why. And so she took the second chair after Tim left. So this might have been around the time where like we didn't not quite have Kira yet, so maybe I just didn't have a second yet, or maybe, but I usually had somebody else on the show because doing a talk show
very hard
for I did play music. That was basically my commercials. I mean, we did have to play PSAs. This legality of like doing a non-for-profit radio station kind of thing.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, but then so I had him on. I even had him sit in the chair, had him talk to him a little bit, and I was like, "Are you ready to test out tonight?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know. I should wait another." And I'm like, I didn't say this, but I'm like, I don't want you at my show another goddamn week.
I want you.
So
out.
you are testing out tonight.
Yep.
Or you're not.
Right.
But you're not coming back here.
Yeah.
And no one else wants to, well, I didn't say this either, but no one else wants to train you. So this is your last chance, basically.
Is it?
So I think I was like, all right, at the 11 o'clock hour, you're going to go on. And I'm going to go sit in the office and I'm going to listen.
Right.
So, during songs, I was telling them all the things that you're supposed to tell them.
Yep.
And I'm sure people trained him on the equipment and all we had to take readings on the tower readings.
Okay.
Like,
Yep. Just make sure that the signal's getting out. Or,
right. Yeah. We'll just make sure that's outputting what it's supposed to.
Right.
And just, I think for FCC reasons, we had to, keep a log of all that stuff.
Okay.
And I'm sure they never actually checked it. But we took the log because it was important. And so, yeah, 11 o'clock, I fucked off into the office.
Yep.
Turned the radio on in there and shut the door. And I played a song. And as the song ends, what did I hear?
Dead air.
Of course. And I gave him another, as much as I was being a hard ass, I gave him a little bit of a chance. Because once that door is shut, I'm not supposed to open it again until the test is over. I popped my head in and I was like, you have to talk.
Was that on the...
It probably was. So he started mumbling a little bit, and then he played, and he didn't say much, and then he played a song, and I think he screwed that up too. So I like about maybe 10 minutes in, I was just like, I'm sorry, dude, I'm gonna have to fail you, and this is it. This is the end of the line.
Right.
Your future in college radio has just died
is over.
with me.
But
then what was it? I remember my last couple of semesters, I had Rob and Tatsu as my trainees.
Yeah.
But they ended up not wanting to do their own show.
Okay.
So they just stayed coming on my show, and then I just started calling them my interns.
And that's got to give you a certain amount of power. I mean, aside from being the what did you not DJ advocate? What was your position?
DJ representative.
DJ representative. Yeah. You also had some interns. That's a see. I feel like you did it right. But my perspective on it would be, so and I know I've shared this before, but people may not remember, and I may have shared it,
I
bits and
probably
pieces.
shared all that shit before, but
No, a lot of that was I do not remember.
Oh, cool. Wow.
That felt brand new to me. So
cool.
either I completely blacked out on a previous episode, or
I mean, if Brian probably remembers all that shit because he was
Yeah.
part of the radio station.
right. What I was going to say, and is our call letters at Bradford were a WHAT, what, right? And I don't know if this.
Did you say was the catch was
there-
it what's up Bradford College?
There was nothing. Everything that's so for the listener out there, everything that's
the listener.
Yeah. For the listeners. Oh gosh. For the listeners out there, everything that Steve just said about every sort of level of professionalism that you described, which you might view as not that professional, was completely absent from our college radio station and college radio experience.
Let me get this, just make this absolutely clear. I mean, this is
Right.
this podcast has been 100 times more professional than we ever were on WDJM, and I think 9 times, or
Right.
so let's just say 95 times out of 100,
Right.
we were drunk.
Okay, but
Because like we would get a decent buzz, not enough to get complete. There was a couple of times where I didn't drive and got completely blackout drunk. And those shows, I have one recorded. I can't make it more than 2 minutes in before I shut it the fuck off. But a majority of our shows, we had at least a little bit of stuff going into the studio, and then we would often go to Super Discount Liquors across Route 9, which I think is not there anymore. But it might still be.
Yeah.
And we would get at least one, if not two 40s
during
to
the show.
drink during the show.
Oh, okay.
And if we didn't drink during the show, that's when we would zip back to Bennigan's and go and hang with Tim for last call.
So I get all that. But when I think about the quote unquote training that I received before going on the air, there was a guy named Damien, and it's not that Damien didn't want to train me, but Damien was kind of like,
He thought it was all for him.
no. Damien was kind of hands off, and
That was an Omen reference.
oh, I'm sorry, me not getting references because I'm an uncultured fuck.
Well, whoever laughed, they got it.
So I'm pretty sure it was Damien, and Damien was on right before I was, and so I went in there, and Damien showed me how to play a tape, how to play a CD, how to play a record, and how to move the mic up and basically the bare minimum. And I think maybe I'm remembering, and I think if I'd asked for more help, Damien probably would have stuck around. He was a good guy, but it was just like, all right, here's the basics. I'm out. And he went off and smoked a bowl or got drunk or whatever it is that he did afterwards. And then I was on the air. And so my first few were terrible. My roommate came on and he kind of helped me a little bit with the professionalism. But what I remember the most about our radio station was that it was kind of the Wild West, and part of that stems from what our call sign or call letters supposedly stood for, which was "We have a transmitter."
Well, yeah, we didn't have like an incredible broadcasting range. I think we might have reached. So, Framingham State is, I don't know how it could reach. I think most of the town of Framingham, or actually, I think it's a city now. But at the time, it was a town.
Right.
I think it reached most of the town of Framingham.
Uh-huh.
And then it started cutting out. I think once you got to 495, like
Okay. Yep.
from
From
Route 9.
Well,
Getting local for you, kids.
so the power of our transmitter was such that you could not hear the radio station in the building it was being broadcast from, which was the main building on campus.
Wow.
But you could, on a lucky day, hear it down at exit 48, getting onto 495.
So just sit in the rest area.
You could. Well, my dad and I would catch it sometimes if he came to pick me up or whatever. He'd have it on. and we'd be out by the highway and we'd be able to hear it. But there were people in Academy Hall where the radio station was on the top floor, and they could not hear the show.
I remember growing up, I could get WJUL, which is the
Lowell?
UMass Lowell
Yeah.
radio station. I remember being able to get that like pretty well all
remember-
around the general area. So they must have had a decent.
Yeah, I remember being able to get them back when I was first driving, and I'd be tuning through the stations and whatnot. But the other thing I wanted to say about professionalism is that my junior or senior year of college, somebody came in who, and I don't know if it was a combination of people who were professors in the various communications and media departments, somebody who worked in the computer lab, and then like a couple of people who, I don't know, a couple of students who felt a little bit higher than the rest of us, and they all
Higher?
wanted superior to the rest of us, and they all wanted to deeply professionalize the whole thing and basically establish exactly the kind of thing as a baseline of what you were describing. You know, you got to be on the air a certain amount of times. There has to be a certain level of professionalism. You know, all of this stuff.
I mean, they they had a list of words you weren't supposed to say, which
Right.
every once in a while we went through the entire fucking thing. It's a good thing the FCC was never listening when we did that.
Yeah. Oh, and when you mentioned writing down the checking the frequency and of the transmitter.
What's the frequency, Kenneth?
It was there's like none of that. And of course it was probably part of a wider thing at the college where people were like, well, you know what, let's make everything a little bit more, if not professional, a little bit better. And then of course, did any of them know or see the writing on the wall that the college was about to close? It was like, yeah, the moment you tried to make that place,
How many years after you graduated did it close?
1 year.
1 year. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
yep. I graduated in May. Steph was working there. She went from her work-study job in admissions to getting a job at admissions. And so
God.
she was working admissions through the summer into the fall
That sucks.
up until like a week before. And it was right before Thanksgiving break that they had the meeting. So
it was the fall semester they
they
closed?
announced the closing was going to happen after the May graduation.
Oh, okay.
So
So at least they
announced
got to
it.
finish the year.
Yeah, and they offered options to people who were going to be 6 months or a year away from graduating, that they could go finish somewhere else and still have their Bradford degree. And I think they offered that to everybody, including the freshmen. And it was like, well, you just got here. Why would you care about having a Bradford degree? But there were a few stragglers over the next few years, even after the class of 2000, who technically, have a Bradford College degree from 2001 or whatever. So the good old WHAT. I wonder whatever happened to that equipment and all of that stuff.
Do you want to find it and
No.
we can broadcast out of the house?
No, I threw out during an era when I was super purging. I threw out all of my tapes of my.
Can we call this episode Super Purging?
we can if you want. I was gonna call it Your Future in College Radio, but super purging isn't bad. So
I do like the other one that you had too.
with
Your Future in College Radio.
yeah, I like that better. Get rid of the super purging. I like super purging.
You can put that in whatever shit that you put in the thing.
Speaking of shit,
No, we're not yet. I'm not done with
Okay.
radio. You talked about the guy. So this guy was your lead in your entire time.
well, he was a year. He might have actually stayed. I was gonna say stayed back. He might have been on the 5 or 6 year plan, but he was a year ahead of me when we started, and so at least 3 out of the 4 years, but maybe into the 4th year. I don't remember.
Yeah, Kira took over my time slot after I left because she was still there at least for another year, I think. But
Yeah.
but like I think it was we had Michelle, who lives up in Maine now. She did the Rainbow Connection. I believe she was my lead-in before.
Yeah.
And then after she finished, there was this guy Johnny Woe,
Okay.
who did a hip hop show.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think I might have told this story on the show before, but if not, it's a good one. So I'll tell it again. So one time he asked us to get it. I mean, I he was obviously 21, but he just asked us to pick him up some Captain Morgan.
Okay. Right.
So we did, and so he hung out during our show after his show. And it was him and his girlfriend were hanging out, and they were enjoying their Captain Morgan's rum.
Yes, and she was obviously 21 as well.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, there's no question.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were drinking away, and Tim. Tim was definitely there because he was trying to hit on his girlfriend, and then just like it could not have gotten more negged. It was just like every time it was just like it would just fall completely flat, and it was just like. And
that's a thing of beauty to watch.
And Johnny Woe didn't,
especially with somebody who keeps trying.
Yeah, and Johnny Woe gave zero shits. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, nope, she's into me. So
Yeah.
And then the show. I mean, at the time I did smoke cigarettes, and so I would often, probably about midway through the show, want to have a cigarette. So my cigarette break song was Disco Inferno, because it's about 11 and a half minutes long.
Right.
So it enabled me to, take a piss and then go downstairs, have an entire cigarette, not worry about rushing. I would usually get back up with 2, 3, in between 2 and 3 minutes left of the song.
Okay.
And I would often fade it out and then get back on the air. This particular time, as I'm doing this, because Johnny Woe and his girlfriend have disappeared from the radio studio.
Okay.
And are
not to do anything untoward, I'm sure.
Well, who knows? So
I mean, they are 21, so
the station at the time was on the top floor of the campus center.
Okay.
Which there was classrooms up there, and I'm walking down the hall.
Yeah.
Toward the bathroom is right near the stairs, and so I was gonna go to the bathroom, go down the stairs. As I'm passing by one of the classrooms, I hear a little bit of a commotion.
Oh.
And then I pop my head in, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I see Johnny Woe and his lady friend engaged in
okay. Dear Penthouse.
And
you'll never believe what I walked in on one night at the radio station.
I mean, it was very dark. It's not. I didn't see explicit detail or anything.
Okay.
But I did see the shapes of two people being thrust together.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so I did pop my head in and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And not realizing what they were doing. And he goes, "Hey, not much." And I'm like, he just waves. And I'm like, "All right, see you later." And I kind of, buzzed off.
Is that the closest you've been to a threesome? No, don't answer.
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Oh my gosh. That's way more fun than the closest I've ever been to a threesome, which is a terrible story.
Well, let's hear it.
It's just my roommate and my best friend
in college.
Who was a woman. They were dating for a while, and they would occasionally right across the room while I was supposed to be asleep.
Well, I mean, I have been in the room where my roommate was having relations.
Yeah, I don't know that I've walked in on anybody, not that I can think of.
Oh, I remember this one time this was back when I was North Adams, and like my roommate and his girlfriend were getting it on, as it were. Yeah, and I had to pee so bad, so I was just fucking waiting. I'm like, just finish. I gotta pee. I just did not want to get up while they were having sex to go to the bathroom. So I'm just kind of like, I'm waiting, and I'm like, dude, seriously. Eventually finished, and I'm like, like a rocket ship into the bathroom so I could piss.
Now this was not a person who. Well, I don't want you to disparage your roommate. I was gonna say that situation would feel even more frustrating to me if my roommate were traditionally a rather fast fellow, if you take my meaning, and then
This was one
somehow had found the stamina of the gods that particular evening.
This was a rare occurrence actually, because I imagine he when he would hook up, he would often hook up at their place from that point going forward. So it was not an issue.
Got it.
He was not
this one time.
Well, no, there was another time where I didn't have to pee, but I was awake because they were loud.
Yeah.
And I was just pretending to sleep, and then he definitely put it in her butt, and she definitely said "ow."
That's the worst. I mean, that the one time that I remember was
the one time you remember having somebody put it in your butt.
No, just the one time I remember my roommate and my friend having sex, and I woke up. I don't think it was he was trying to put it in her butt, but I think it was.
Did he miss?
It was not going well. Was my impression, and I was pretending to be asleep, but also yeah.
All you young people listening, it's not worth it, because unless the lady
pretending to be asleep.
No, it's not worth it trying to do butt stuff.
Unless
unless the person that you're with is into it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would hope that would go without saying, but I guess it doesn't.
No, but I mean, obviously, but it's I can't speak for women.
Right.
But I imagine that it's a little bit more pleasurable to have vaginal intercourse.
I would also imagine. Although I don't know.
Unless you have a micro penis, in which case it's not bad for either.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe that's why she never... Anyway. College radio, walking in on...
Yeah, that was... The story was... I think they might have finished while I was having my cigarette, so... Okay.
So you went back up there and they were back in the station?
I didn't peek in again. I wasn't. Okay. But I think they might have bolted. And maybe she was like, "Hey, can we fuck someplace more private?" And he was like, "Yeah, I guess."
That might be a good idea. It's just I guess I didn't hear the Steve song. What song was it? I didn't hear Disco Inferno. If I'd heard, I would have known to finish.
It's not like they played it in the hallways in the middle of the fucking night.
That's so, yeah. Speaking of butts, no, I don't know how to make any kind of transition. So college radio, fun times.
Speaking of poop coming out of your butt. Well, I did, part of my story was going to the bathroom, so we could say,
there is
speaking of going to the bathroom.
Speaking of going to the bathroom.
We found the lead in.
Oh, there we go. So I guess. You
guess?
Well, not kind of as a lead up, because this comes up a little bit later. The past week was supposed to be kind of a not down in terms of depressing, but down in terms of not as much to do, because I had the residency at work, and then this coming week my classes start, and this past week was supposed to be kind of an easy week at work, an easy week for the kids, just an easy week. It was not. Last weekend, so almost 10 days ago now at this point, Kaylee started coming down with something, and we weren't sure what. Turned out to be strep throat. And shortly after we realized that she had strep throat, her sister came down with strep throat. So this whole week has been just sick. And because I had the more flexible schedule, I was home with them. Stephanie works as a teacher. She had parent-teacher conferences, couldn't really reschedule those. So I was home every day, knocking on wood, washing my hands, in between, I don't know, it had to be every 5 minutes. I was washing my fucking hands. Just trying not to get sick. And knock on wood, still haven't. But so we get to the end of all that.
So they're done. They got antibiotics.
They're on antibiotics. They've been on antibiotics for 5-6 days, depending on which kid you're talking about. And so yesterday they're about to head out to Baha'i children's classes. So my wife is of the Baha'i faith, and the kids go to children's classes, which are like Sunday school, and although theoretically more fun. At any rate,
I won't hold my breath with that.
so they head out for that, but on their way out, they're always rushed. This is always like the 10 most panicky minutes in our house since they've been doing this, which is the entire time they've been alive.
Number 10.
The 10 minutes on Sunday mornings when Stephanie is like, I don't want to disparage my wife, but basically waiting until the last minute to basically tell the kids they have to get going, and expecting, if this is definition of insanity, right? Is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
I think you just disparaged your wife.
I did. But every fucking week, it's like there's like 10 minutes left. They need to get ready, and she's like, all right, time to get ready for children's classes. And if I have not noticed, then it's a fucking shit show for pun not.
They don't know the story yet,
I know, but okay, so anyway, so they are scrambling around, trying to get ready, and in my older daughter's haste to get ready, she
mixed in a little bit of the kids' cough syrup.
No.
It passed the first test. I didn't go blind.
I don't know the reference.
It's The Simpsons. The Flaming Moe's episode.
Okay. So Kaylee, my older daughter, is I don't know if she's putting deodorant on while I don't know what is happening exactly. We have
is it a spray deodorant or
no? It was the
little
stick roll-on deodorant. We have until yesterday a basket on the top of the toilet tank because our entire living situation is cramped, but our bathroom especially, when there's 4 of us, and it's basically what you'd call a 3/4 bath. It does not have a tub, but it does have a stand-up shower. Anyway, we have a lot
What's
of stuff.
the deal with showers?
We have a lot of stuff sitting in the basket on top of the toilet tank, and Kaylee goes to flush and accidentally knocks my wife's deodorant into the toilet bowl while it's flushing. Now, I'm in the other room trying to get Melody ready, my younger daughter, because right now, because she's been sick and she hasn't been out of the house much, I'm pretty much the only one she'll listen to, so I'm trying to help her. Next thing I know, Kaylee is crying. She's worried that I'm going to be mad, worried that my father is going to be mad. And about what? And she's like, I don't even know if she could say it. She's like whimpering, and Stephanie says, half laughing, because it's ridiculous that this happened, right?
Yeah.
She knocked deodorant into the toilet. And we all kind of try to chuckle about it because we figure, no big deal.
So what did you do? You reach your hand in there and grab it?
Well, I wish I had, but no. So they take off, and I'm sitting there, and I'm in the process of working on some stuff for my book business, my author business. And then the way that number twos, the way that poops work for me is that generally just not out of nowhere. I'm aware that it's getting to be about that time, but it's going to be that time and I need to go. Now, at this point, I have completely forgotten that this story, that she flushed whatever down the toilet. So I go into the bathroom.
You didn't go to the downstairs bathroom?
No. I went right into my bathroom, which is right there, right next to where I was working. Sit down. It's over in a jiff. Do my business of wiping and, pull up my pants, whatever order, flush the toilet and go over to wash my hands. And it's as I'm washing my hands that I go, oh shit. Because that pun was intended, I guess. Because I hear that the toilet is not draining the way that it's supposed to be. So now I remember.
So what'd you do? You reach your hand in and grab it?
God. The next hour or so is I'm trying to black it out of my mind, like just get it out of my memory. But it amounts to, the reason that my daughter was worried about my dad's reaction is the same reason I'm worried about my dad's reaction, is because my dad's reaction to anything that might happen in the house is to overreact. So I am then trying to go downstairs, go into the room where the sort of mechanical room where the dryer and washer are and all the tools are. And I'm trying little by little to like bring stuff up to try and figure this out. Then I'm looking for like a Solo cup or something to drain
The poo-poo toilet.
the toilet. Yeah. And then I'm looking for a rubber glove, and it's just nothing I'm doing is working. I'm and eventually I go down and I try to on the sly talk to my mother about it. But my mom has just gotten out of the shower. She's nice and clean, and I'm like, I don't want mom to come up, so I'm trying to minimize what is going on. But eventually my mother, who's always trying to help everybody, comes upstairs. She's just taken a fucking shower, and now she's trying to. I'm like, Mom,
To
what?
get the poo-poo toilet.
Now I had
Well,
cleaned,
I don't know.
had cleaned the bulk of the poop out at this point, but it was still gross.
Did the poop and the deodorant kind of like cancel each other out, and so it was just water?
No,
Oh.
the water was gross. I had done my best, but there was, anyway.
So it wasn't like in Dogma when
Ugh.
Kevin Smith sprays deodorant on the poo
On
monster.
the poop monster, and it makes it go away. No. So eventually we just decided we got to call. We would have got to call a plumber, and of course my dad, wants us to try a local person that he knows. He had a recommendation. It's Sunday of a 3-day weekend.
Blame it on the drain, yeah.
Can I get it right?
That's a Weird Al song.
I know, but it can go in the description. It won't
And-
be the title. But.
And our friends Mark and Aaron have a junkyard pinball machine that they changed the audio package to be Weird Al songs. So one of the two things that happens when you drain the ball
Is Blame It on the Drain.
and the other one's like the end of I lost on Jeopardy. It's like,
Okay.
well, you lost, and let me tell you what you didn't win.
So we try calling the regular plumber, no dice. So call Roto Rooter, and they're supposed to be there, soon. And
You should have called Empire Carpet today.
They're supposed to be there soon, but it takes a while. And eventually, guy does show up, and he is, he gives me two different prices. He's like, we're gonna try one thing first, and it's this many $100, and if that doesn't work, we'll try this other thing, and it's this many $100. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, that is a fucking crap ton of money.
Yeah, poop ton. A cubic, like, bunch of feces ton of doo-doo monies.
But he says, no, I'm not going to add it together. Whichever one, if the first one doesn't work, you're just going to get charged the second one, which is still a lot of money.
But at least it's not both.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happened. And he basically has to take the entire toilet apart because his little grabber thingy can't get it. And we're both sitting there going, like, how the fuck did this must have landed in there perfectly? Because it's like, it's a full stick of fucking deodorant. It's a hard, like, how did it go down as far as it did? So
because your poo-poo pushed it down. That's what happened,
so.
Chris.
So when he finally gets it, he's basically got the tank is off the toilet. He's got the bottom part of the toilet, and he is inverting it in our shower, basically, because that's the only place he has to do the work.
He's just like shaking it out.
And he shakes it upside down, and then I'm
trying to get that last pickle out of the jar.
I'm sitting right in the chair, basically right across the way, and I hear plunk, and he goes,
Oh boy!
He goes, there it is. Now, from my vantage point, I can't.
Now you don't have to buy a new deodorant.
From my vantage point, I can't see it, but I'm too curious to let it go. So I say, you mind if I see it? And I couldn't see the expression on his face, but I'm sure it was like, you don't want to see this. And so I look over, and sure enough, I did not want to see that. It's exactly what you might imagine. It's a thing of deodorant covered in my shit, sitting there in my shower. Now, this is where it comes back around to the
you flushed it again. Is
no,
what you're saying.
no. It comes back around to the sick part. Is he reassembles everything, and then
Put a nice wax seal on there, I hope.
Yeah, he goes like above and beyond. And one of the ways in which he went above and beyond is he came back in with, I don't know, like as much cleaner as a maid would come in there with. And that's not his primary. His job is to fix fucking toilets. But he had noticed that Melody, who was sitting in the other chair, was still coughing. And he's like, I noticed your daughter was sick, so I want to make sure we cleaned all that up. So he did a bang up job of cleaning up. We still scrubbed the thing like mad afterwards. But yeah, so we rearranged the bathroom, which, given how much crap. See, some of them I'm intending and some of them I'm not. Given how much stuff was sitting in the basket above the toilet, I'm surprised this didn't happen before now.
Well, I mean, it's better to have it happen with a stick of deodorant and not something smaller that would have gone down the drain.
Right. Yes, because that's the part that my dad would have been upset and worried about. Is there's a grinder pump at the very end. In our. How the fuck does it work? I guess we still have a septic tank, but it goes out to the sewer or some damn thing. There's a grinder pump, and if something small enough to get down all the way, but problematic,
solid enough to fuck up the grinder pump,
that would have been a whole.
Does it grind poo-poos?
I guess it.
Can we call the episode "Grind Poo Poo"?
No, it made me think of that Outcast song.
No, we're not singing that song.
No. But I was thinking, is Steve referencing that song when you said "grind poo poo"? And I was like, no. Anyway, long story short, too late. Our toilet is back to normal. I did, a number of people have gone to the bathroom and nothing has.
A number of people have number two'd and
nothing's gone wrong yet.
Everything's great. In fact, it's taking those poops and flushing them down better than ever.
Oh yeah. It was a little bit louder, I gotta say. With the.
I mean, everyone appreciates a loud toilet, especially in the middle of the night.
Or no. This morning or this afternoon when I got up to shit and shower. It felt.
At least you didn't shit in the shower.
No, I did not. I mean, I know I scrubbed it, but there was shit in my shower for about 15 minutes yesterday. Like
no matter how much you wipe, Chris, if you clean your butthole, there's going to be a.
I know. I don't want to think about it. But we only have less than 13 minutes left, and we were going to talk about my vacation, but I mean,
you don't want to cram it in.
No, I mean
to the toilet or cram it into the show like you would a deodorant stick and a turd into your toilet.
Like your roommate tried to cram it in where. I don't know.
Ow.
No. I mean, I could talk a little. Maybe I can set it up.
Did you talk about the traveling part about it? Maybe we can talk about that part.
There we go. I'll talk about the traveling part, and
then maybe we'll pick it up next time.
Yeah.
Of you arriving in the swamp in Florida.
Yes, which has not been drained.
Of course not. In fact, they've put more delicious swamp goo in there.
Yeah. So we went to Disney World, right? This was a thing you and I have been talking about, and this started on day after Christmas, and so
is that where the kids got strep?
It's hard to say because I don't know how long it takes strep to incubate, right?
I don't think it takes long.
Okay, so no, it wouldn't have been on vacation.
Because if it's like a bacterial infection, like that could pretty much happen immediately.
Yeah. Well, so we were on vacation from the 26th through the 2nd, and we're home very early in the morning on the 3rd or late at night, depending on your perspective.
I could talk about the time I got strep last.
Oh, you could. Well,
so we don't have to talk about traveling, and then we could just devote next week's episode to Disney.
No. So all I was going to say is we were back on the 3rd, and neither of them got the strep until the 11th, 12th. So it had to have been somewhere in the week back at school. It would be my guess.
Yeah. So
Melody got it from Kaylee. So Kaylee picked it up somewhere at school, and then Melody just got it.
What are
from
these kids just,
proximity
like,
to her
just
sister?
like eating similar things to other kids? Like,
I don't know. Kids are dirty. They're filthy.
Yeah.
They're disgusting little animals.
I mean, at their age, I was washing. Well, you know, I have OCD, so
diagnosed, or you just think
I every year that goes by,
You
I
think
think
about-
that I actually do.
Okay.
Like, not like totally undiagnosed, but
Right.
like it's to a point where
Yeah. No,
that,
I get
that it's not like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, cause like the last time I talked to a therapist, she was found it very odd that like certain things that I do every day, like
Right.
like when I leave the house,
Mhm.
usually I'll give Becky a hug, and then I'll leave, and then she'll be standing at the door, and I
Yeah.
will always ring the doorbell, and then as the door is shutting, she will go, no. And like one of the things that the therapist was saying is like, you should stop doing that to see if it so your mind knows that it won't ruin your day if that doesn't happen.
Right.
And I
yeah.
think I didn't do it once and it was fine, but I'm like, I don't like not doing it.
Yeah. and yeah. I mean, I'm.
And so like on days where like she's working from home, like
Right.
she'll sleep in, and,
Yeah.
and so I, you know, those are days where I won't ring the doorbell.
Well, that is nice of you. At
Yeah.
least. Yeah. Oh, well, you're going to tell me about the time you got strep.
I think I got sick like around the time when we moved into the house about 2.5 years ago.
Okay. Mhm.
But I thought it was strep or something along the lines, but like it wasn't. But they still gave me antibiotics, and that was the last time I had an antibiotic.
Right.
But the last time I got like official strep was I think 2000 even.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you know, I took the antibiotic and then I was feeling better, and
Yeah.
you know, like it was back when I was smoking cigarettes. So right when I was done the antibiotics, like I started feeling crappy again, and then you know, it was like most of a summer of me feeling like shit.
Right.
And I was working in a warehouse at the time, so it was
Yeah.
like doing crazy work, and I was feeling bad. And then, you know, by the time my birthday rolled around, I finally went to the doctors. Like,
Yeah.
I think when I got my antibiotics, I think I'd just gone to like, you know, some free clinic or something
Okay.
like that.
Right.
And then, yeah, so I finally go to the doctors to get checked out, and he's like, yeah, sorry, but you have mono.
I'm sorry to laugh, but that's fucking. How does that? You get strep and then you recover from strep and you get mono.
Well, it might not have been strep. It might have been mono
okay,
the
you
whole
said it might have been
time.
Mono the whole time.
And so if I had just not done a bunch of fucking heavy lifting all summer,
Right.
and relaxed at that point,
Yeah.
or been diagnosed at that point, I probably would have gotten better a lot sooner.
And now I can't remember, is mono a virus or mono is bacteria? I can't.
It's the Epstein-Barr virus.
Oh, so like there's nothing you can do when you get mono. The antibacterial is not going to do shit.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the strep might have like piggybacked on the mono because
Or
like
are
the antibiotics did help me feel better. So like
Right.
but I also should have been resting and not smoking and not doing crazy heavy lifting. But yeah, this was I believe August 18th, 2000.
Yep. That's
Which
about
was-
a year. That's a year. No, 2 years. That's about 2 years after I had mono.
Wow.
I got mono over the summer between junior and senior year. Stephanie was staying at our at one of our housemates' houses over the summer, and that housemate happened to get pregnant that summer.
Oh, boy.
By accident. And then all of a sudden they found out I had mono, and I was not allowed in the house anymore because she was pregnant and not allowed
To get mono.
well, yeah, I couldn't be.
You know what?
Couldn't spend any time with my girlfriend, who we were we'd been, it was like between 4 and 6 months, and it was like things were going well, but when you're like told, yeah, you can't come over here and see her ever, And so I like sometimes would go up there. I feel like because I had the more reliable car, and then we drive back to my place. Like go up to Haverhill, pick her
You
up,
had the
drive
more
back.
reliable car?
Yeah, if you can fucking believe it. I mean, it was a few months after that my
You had
car,
like, was it the same car you had in high
Yes.
school? So like
my car died on the way to dropping off her car at the mechanic later that summer. So it was I had the more reliable car, kind of.
Yeah.
You were gonna explain to the listeners about my car.
Well, yeah, Chris's car from like I remember hitching many a ride from you in
Yep.
in late 1995,
Right.
your last year of Chelmsford High.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a piece of shit back then.
It was.
And this was what,
That's
3
sort of
4 years later.
4 years later, yeah. Yep. I mean, so it was an '87 Ford Tempo. I don't know if my parents bought it
was like
new off
gray?
the lot. Yeah, it's gray. I don't know if they bought it new off the lot, but if they didn't, they bought it fairly like close to when it was brand new. And my mom was an assistant manager at Caldor department store at the time.
That's one of my newer T-shirts that I got for Christmas was my Caldor.
You got a Caldor one?
Yeah, baby.
Were my mom and your mom were coworkers there? No.
No.
I know your mom
you
eventually-
were coworkers with my mother.
I know
at
that,
Purity.
but I was wondering if they. No, it was always that she was at the. Your mom was at the grocery store.
Your mom and my dad went to high school together.
I know that. So at any rate, so my mom worked at Caldor, and she worked her way up to assistant manager. She was the assistant manager they sent to stores that were fucking up because she would whip them into shape. And so that
she was the Steve of the WDJM to get rid of bills.
Yes. And so anyway, so she had that '87 Ford Tempo, and she was driving from Chelmsford to get local for you to Saugus.
Oh God.
Which is a hell of a haul. A couple different locations over time, but she had put a lot of fucking miles on that by the time they gave it to me in spring, summer in '94. So like right after I had my license, my mom got a new car, and I got the Tempo. And yeah, that thing broke down so many times in so many different ways. And they kept putting money into it, and I think my dad at a certain point was tallying how much money I owed him for the car.
Because of course.
Well, because he wanted to be fair to John, to my brother. And eventually, that senior year of college, it broke down, and I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I think I didn't have it the first couple of weeks of senior year of college, and we were relying just on Steph's car. And then I had it for most of senior year, and then towards the end of senior year, it died for the last time. So that when I graduated and I came home, there was no car for me to drive, and I had no job. I had to.
In 2000, John was still around.
Yeah.
But
I graduated in '99 from.
Oh yeah.
college,
Sorry.
So summer of '99 starts, and I have no car and no job, and no car to get to interviews. It was a fucking shit show. And then the car I did get was off of a lot somewhere not in Acton, Littleton, headed more west along 119, somewhere. Anyway, it was terrible. The speedometer didn't work.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah.
But the date is very important. August 18th, 2000.
Oh, right.
For my mono diagnosis. Because 2 days later, I turned 21.
Oh. Wait, where's this going?
When you have mono, you're not supposed to drink alcohol.
Oh, motherfucker. Did you?
I had one beer on. Like, Rob took me to see Jackie the Joke Man at the Cape Cod Melody Tent.
It would be great if I could do math. I should have realized that's where that story was going.
Because I turned 40 this past year, and
Right.
so I will be 41 this year. So 20 years ago.
Yeah. Holy shit. Wow.
So yeah, I got mono right before I turned 21, and I had one beer at the Hong Kong. after the Jackie show, and
Yeah.
then no, I didn't have anything for a little while after that. And then when my mother was working part time at the Drumhill Liquors
Okay.
at that time, and like so when I was feeling better, she took
Yeah.
me to the Red Hook Brewery up in Portsmouth, New
Oh,
Hampshire.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And and I was sitting with a bunch of guys. Like they went on because the liquor store goes on little field trips up to the
Okay.
local breweries.
Yep.
See if they want to get a bunch of the stuff at their store.
Right.
So they went on this particular one to the Red Hook one, and I came along, and I am sitting there trying to keep up with drinking from people who run a liquor store. And me having, just gotten over mono.
Right.
And so I was subsequently sick very early on before we even went on the tour.
Oh no, Steve.
We were I drank so much at lunch that I got sick during the tour. I didn't even have a sample of I had them all
You'd already had your
I didn't need
samples.
the samples, but like I didn't even get a sample on the tour. I was just like I was doing the it was funny back in the day,
Right.
even though he's a piece of shit that put shit in people's drinks and drugged them and raped them, but
Right.
but Bill Cosby, had the bit on Bill Cosby himself where you're like sitting like after being sick in the toilet and putting
Yeah.
your head up against the porcelain because it's nice and cool. And that was me.
At least it wasn't the porcelain in my toilet yesterday. Oh, I should just stop it there.
I thought you were going to.